Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Find Out podcast. Everyone's laughing because people were making jokes right up until we hit record.
It's the only
But we
way to
figured,
fly.
so first of all, thank you for all the comments on the video, on the episode that we dropped on Tuesday with economic professor Justin Wolfers. Like the responses were just amazing and incredible.
He
So
was
I wanted
awesome.
to thank you. And
He is so
he was so good. And I've never seen an economist actually be able to laugh at a joke or make one of his own. So it was
talking about ball sacks and stuff.
yeah, he did do that, and he laughed at my Dick Cheney transition joke, which I thought was pretty good. And but anyways, we have someone equally as funny and equally as smart with us today. He's, if you're listening, he is scrunching his face, but he is. We have Nathan Jun with us today, who is I don't even know how to describe. Well, how would you describe yourself? Content creator,
rich, I know
marketing expert, like, tax the rich guy. Like, what
how would I describe myself?
Yourself?
Question. I would say political and economic analyst.
Okay.
But by profession, I'm a data analyst focused in consumer insights. I am not an economist, despite the fact that I have several economist friends who say that I could easily replace half of their staff. But I basically, I position myself as somebody who enjoys researching, enjoys looking into things with great detail, enjoys fact checking things, and enjoys clarifying. I think clarifying because fundamentally I believe that a more educated voter is a better voter.
So you're trying to make everybody MAGA then, right?
I actually found I did a poll. I actually sent out a poll a couple days ago where I asked what my followers, what their intended presidential candidate was if the primary was tomorrow on the Democratic side. And it was interesting because I actually just, for shits and giggles, funny haha, I included, I am a never Trumper conservative. And I just included that as like one of the demographic builds.
Yep.
I had like 48 people who selected that. And I was like, I have Republican followers.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
they like
so you
data.
are an influencer.
It's
the worst term.
Will not ever identify as that.
Which is funny because if you're like, you look at like TED Talks, they are trying to influence you. I always joke that like, Walter Cronkite and like Edward R. Murrow, you could have called them influencers, just like we can all call ourselves journalists, because like breaking news, there's no certification or like you don't have to do anything to call yourself a journalist, as Barry Weiss has pointed out. So if we want to just call ourselves journalists, like I used to think, coming from journalism, I used to think that you had to have a degree and you had to do hard news or have like 10 years of experience doing hard news, where you're interviewing expert sources and you're publishing, like you're breaking net news stories to the world. And that was the only way to be a real journalist. And now I have like fully deconstructed my entire idea of what it is that we all do. Maybe just because I don't want to feel like an imposter, but I think
you know what's interesting,
columnists and analysts, like they've always been called journalists. So why aren't we?
Nobody has ever, like, I've never been called out because I don't position myself as a journalist. The funniest thing though is that I actually was a senior staff writer for the Central Florida Future, which was a regional newspaper in East Orlando. I actually was part of the staff that won a college pacemaker award, which was like the college Pulitzers. So I always sit there and I'm like, I'm not a journalist, but I think out of a lot of creators, I actually do have a background in journalism where I was writing feature articles. Right. Like I literally wrote an article uncovering the fact that professors were angry at the University of Central Florida, which, by the way, is the largest college or public college in the country at 68,000, I think, undergrads now.
Damn, that's huge.
Like I wrote a story basically about how professors were upset about possibly moving to grading on a curve policies. And yeah, it's like, so yeah, again, I don't self-identify as a journalist, but I always sit there and I'm like, I think one of the reasons why I actually might be good at this is just because I do actually have a journalistic background where I try to pursue facts. And I always, if you notice in my videos, I always cite my sources where I include little pop-ups that say, here's the headline, Here's the chart. Here is this.
The sourcing is really important, right? Because there are some people out there that are just, you know, regurgitating news without putting sources. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular. I think a lot of people do it. You know,
which
I guess
has its importance.
What's that?
Which has its place.
Yeah, it does.
For sure.
In
Like,
the media sphere.
Just amplifying things that need to be known. Amplifying true information is a role in the journalism space, 100%. I mean, they used to have the little wire. I mean, that was the whole point of like Reuters and AP was they were wire news services so that little towns could just get amplified shit that was created elsewhere. Like that was the whole fucking point. And then, you know, they became much bigger than that, but 100%. But Tim, you were going to say something.
Oh, it's just an interesting, we weren't even planning on going down this road, but it's interesting because like from the Find Out Media perspective, like I don't actually want people to think we're journalists because we have a very, we are very partisan. At least I am. Like part of the reason to do this is to bring people more to our side. Part of it's just by existing, right? Seeing that there are guys that are doing this. There's 3 white guys. There's an Asian guy on this one. Like, you know, we have all, you know.
Wait, you're Asian?
Yeah.
I don't see race.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're going to do the Stephen Colbert. But my point is like, my point is it's an interesting distinction because like, I don't want to be held to the journalistic like standards of like multi-source and but I also don't want to like say things that aren't true either. I just want to take a story and then give my perspective on it. Right. Frankly, like I'm also lazy as shit. I don't want to do the work that journalism is hard. Yeah, if you do it right. If you do it shitty, it's not.
And so that's the biggest difference with news journalists is they, you know, you're not supposed to editorialize, even if you know something or if you really feel something based on, and it could be based on all the facts and science. If it's not the thing that your source is saying in that story, then you don't say it. You are only report, or if you do say something, you source it to that specific source, or you pull in that data. And that's what makes good investigative journalism. But I've always believed, and this was something that was even 20 years ago when I was in journalism school was kind of coming around, was like pretending you don't have a bias is more cruel to your reader than just owning your bias and just saying it. I've been a progressive my entire life. I've been an environmentalist my entire life. I love animals. I honestly like animals more than people most of the time. I like trees more than people most of the time. And so I think if people know that about me, then they also know how to read what I'm writing or consume what I'm putting out there, and they can choose if they want to read it or not. But but when they do, I find myself like reading through my comments, and I have a real connection, and I know we all do. Like we have a real connection with the people in our comment sections because we're creating authentic content on behalf of ourselves. And then to the rest of it, Tim, like being a journalist is really like the principles that you commit to. Are you trying to mislead people or are you trying to inform them? And if you're trying to inform them, you're fact checking yourself. You're not putting out shit that's like half true or that's half of the story so that you can guide them in a direction that's maybe disingenuous. Like if you just commit to not doing those things, frankly, I think all 4 of us should call ourselves journalists in some capacity. And every entertainer out there, Bill O'Reilly's out there and Sean Hannity call themselves journalists.
Yeah, they're entertainers.
Can absolutely call ourselves.
Actually, they call themselves entertainers for legal purposes.
Legally, because they didn't journalist very well for so long.
I mean, I know we have topics, Rich, but this is so timely for me just because I yesterday went through hell on earth to get to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It was 7 hours of train rides to go have an interview with Governor Shapiro. And a lot of people, when I posted basically just a selfie with Governor Shapiro, who, by the way, has a 62% approval rating in a purple state that voted for Trump in 2024. Yep. He also is one of 2 governors that has a split legislative branch, which is phenomenal that he has a 62% approval rating just in that in itself. Like Republicans actually like him there. Yep. There are MAGA voters in Pennsylvania that like Josh Shapiro, which I found to be a really fascinating conversation. And especially because he's been getting a lot of slack right now about data centers, about the ICE detention center, blah, blah, blah. And I posted this thing and a lot of people were upset with me. It's, just for various reasons, most of them uninformed. And it's so funny because Rich, when you said like, we have to constantly remind people, I had to post something where I had said a reminder, even though I self-identify as a democratic socialist, I am not a red line progressive. It's like, so if you believe in red line politics, you will be thoroughly disappointed in following me. Yeah. And it was and also a reminder, if you think I'm going to turn down an opportunity to go interview somebody, who is potentially a 2028 presidential candidate, then you are going to be thoroughly disappointed in following me. And I have to constantly remind people, like, I do not believe in purity politics at this stage of the game. I believe in building coalitions. I aggressively campaigned for Zoran Mamdani in the most recent primary and in the general election. And yes, I might actually, if Gavin Newsom becomes the presidential nominee, aggressively campaign for him. And people
100%.
might not like that. Yeah. But at this point, you know, to me, we don't have a choice. So I have to constantly remind people that I believe in building small coalitions. I believe in backing candidates in local elections who are very closely aligned with you. I believe in being able to back a handful of new progressives, you know, the new Democrats, and getting as many of the AOCs and the Tlaibs and all of those people, getting Cory Bush reelected back in Missouri one, like all of those things I believe in, but like we have to stop screaming at each other.
It's the biggest weakness of the left is it comes from a strength. Like the strength is that we're moral and empathetic, right? But when you have a group of moral, empathetic people, you also get a large fragment of them who go, I can't do certain things because of my morals, and they just won't, that line they won't cross. And that's the most difficult thing to emotionally get people to really understand. But I think the majority of them tend to, once the moment actually comes and it's like 2 days before you got to vote, they'll go and vote for Newsom.
They will.
Most of them, but
then they'll post afterwards how angry they were that they had to do
it. Yes. There's a lot of regret.
Well, it's so interesting, and it scares me, to be honest, that like, especially I think Threads is where a lot of this happens, is that everybody has like, or not everybody, but a lot of people are like picking their like horse, and like they want to tear down everybody else in order to keep that person up. I mean, we see it with Newsom, we see it with Shapiro.
We see it in Texas too. The primary
Texas right now.
Texas is the worst. Actually, the worst
mess
one.
Right now.
It is. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, there are two very good candidates in the
Both
Texas
good.
primary, Democratic. James Tallarico, who is a state senator, and Jasmine Crockett, who is a member of Congress and has been 4 or 5 terms, something like that. And you know, it's mostly people outside of Texas, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
and
almost
I will
exclusively.
say I can't say it definitively, but like, I think some of them are being paid to do this. I don't know. I have heard some whispers. And this is a problem in the influencer / creator space too, about disclosures. But anyways, it's like all of these people who don't live in Texas screaming about Jasmine Crockett taking AIPAC money. And then it's like, well, James Tallarico has said positive things about Israel. And then it's like, no, fuck you both. And then it's like they're tearing each other apart in a race that is going to need every single Democrat plus indies and some Republicans to get them over the finish line. And all they're doing is ripping each other up. Not the candidates themselves, but the camps are just killing each other.
And meanwhile, the two of them went on a debate stage and had probably the most civil debate in a primary that I have seen since like Obama McCain. Where people actually respected each other on a stage. Nice. And I know, people who are not young enough to remember this, it's like we use people from different political spectrums used to actually be respectful of each other, believe it or not. But like they go on stage and they're actually not even, they're not even just respectful, they're actually complimentary of each other.
Yes. Yeah.
And meanwhile, their most rabid camps are like going to battle about it.
It's just identity politics.
And all it does is create this narrative where if your person that you are battling for loses, you are less likely inclined to actually want to rally behind the candidate who actually wins.
Yes. Yeah. It's really rough. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like there is a clear-cut advantage for one of them in this, but I'll get eviscerated just for saying it out loud. Like, I think
don't shut your mouth there, Zach. Zach, do not go there.
It's so hard for me to look at it.
I don't want these people in our comment section.
I know. I have stuck by both. I have stuck by both would be great whenever I'm asked, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, it's Texas. It's fucking Texas. Like we just hired somebody to be a podcast producer here, and she's a black female, and she came to me and she's like, I don't know how anybody who's behind Crockett in this. Like, it has to be Tallarico. I'm like, thank you. Holy shit.
Look, but I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, I think they both have. It's interesting because they both have different perspectives on how to build the biggest coalition. That's actually probably the biggest difference between the two of them. Policy-wise, I don't think there's a lot of difference.
There isn't any. Like, they're pretty overlapping.
But like, I think Jasmine thinks that galvanizing voters who have or people who haven't voted for a very long time, doing the sort of the Bernie. It's sort of a bit like the Bernie approach, right? Like I'm going to excite a bunch of people that are tuned out of the process, and that will be enough. Plus the Democratic coalition to move forward. Tallarico's is probably more closely to like what Zach you're saying is that we actually need independents and some Republicans in the coalition
100%.
talk about the corruption, talk about ICE invading our communities and murdering people. Conservatives don't like that. Or the fact that like Trump all of a sudden is like, you can't bring a gun to a protest, which I'm sorry, but in Texas, I mean, I would like that to be true, but in Texas you can open carry and you can conceal carry. So so it's interesting, but then they're not I think my problem with the camps though is that they're not arguing on that. They're like, Crockett's a shill of AIPAC, and it's like, well, like,
and the comments from Tallarico,
not really. And then Tallarico made some,
the whole Tallarico thing about Colin Allred. I watched that and I basically said, there is no other end goal for this except to try to take Tallarico down.
Yes,
there is no like, and whenever I see those, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I understand that you are aggressively wanting your chosen candidate to win, but we have to stop cannibalizing each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I watched Donald Trump get millions of people I thought like didn't exist, or they lived in basements and they would never come out from under the earth. I watched him rally those people, and some of them are in my comments trolling me, calling me a beta cuck soy boy, and they voted for Trump for the first time in their lives, and they're like 60. There's one guy who kept trolling me on TikTok for like a full year. He was like 65 and he lives in Florida, and he's super racist. He was like defending Matt Gaetz. God, for a second I forgot Matt Gaetz existed.
I haven't heard that in a while.
I know, right? He was defending Matt Gaetz because 16 and 17-year-olds, if they're going to dress like whores, then they should be treated like it.
God.
So this guy had never voted in because I was like, tell me more about yourself. So this guy, because I'm like, you exist, you're a thing.
Isn't it so disappointing when you find out they're not bots?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God, you're
That's
human.
the worst.
Like,
the worst part is when you look at somebody who comments and you're like, "Oh, you're a bot," and then you look at them and, oh, fuck, you're real.
Yeah,
And motivating a 60-year-old to vote for the first time.
Never voted in a
racism,
presidential election before, and he voted for the first time. So I watched Trump do this, and so then like Mamdani, like if people said Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, like a Muslim Democratic socialist, is gonna run for New York City mayor, I'd have been like, well, it's New York City maybe. But against like a Cuomo, I'd have been like, yeah, that sounds tough. Because in the old days, you come in with the big name and you get the votes, and then the passionate people, they maybe make a noise in the primary race and then they flame out. That has changed enough now where I'm kind of coming around to the idea of like, maybe we need to just say shit that we believe is true, even if the strategists and the pollsters tell us like this doesn't play well in Pennsylvania. But you just fucking say it because you believe it has to be true, and it's what makes you want to fight instead of what makes you want to go and like win a debate. Yeah. And Crockett has that. And so I'm not going to count that approach out, because there are millions and millions of Democrats in Texas, and a lot of them don't vote.
There's
when you
more
look at how many big
registered
cities
Democrats
are
in
in
Texas than Republicans.
it looks like a blue state. If you look at Houston, Dallas, Austin, like there are huge urban areas that are big enough that in any other state, I mean, Chicago carries all of Illinois. There are other states where when they have urban areas like that they're just solidly blue forever. So is it like maybe Crockett is the fire that Texans need to come out and vote? Maybe we do the old fashioned approach of Tallarico being like a white male Christian who can bring together a coalition and like sort of like tamp down the temperature and all of that. I'm keeping a very open mind this time around, and I don't live in Texas, so I don't have to choose. But I'm keeping a very open mind, and I'm glad that Texans have a choice between two phenomenal candidates, because they need to just go and pick it. So for me, it is about, let's not tear them down. Let's not tear down one or the other. Did we not learn anything about gatekeeping with Bernie versus Hillary and with fucking genocide versus Kamala Harris, which was like this whole manufactured thing? And where's Jill Stein, by the way? I'm still waiting for her to come back out.
Oh yeah, where is she? She in Moscow?
We killed ourselves with gatekeeping in the past but tribalism is sort of like an innately human thing. And so like we're going to drift back in that direction if we don't say every day, no fucking purity testing, no gatekeeping. Like everyone is welcome. Try to be better.
Right.
And just like be somewhere on the progressive spectrum and try to be better, and like you're welcome in my party.
I think that's fair. I mean, my reason for supporting Tallarico is really weird. Nobody's had it before, and I think you'll probably all look at me like I'm a little crazy. But to me,
He's got great hair.
he's very much like the next Obama in my head, where like the way he carries himself, the way he approaches regular people and explains things, the gravitas of how he approaches stuff, it feels very akin to Obama coming out of nowhere and coming out and just absolutely taking over the party. Like I literally, if he wins this Senate seat, not just the primary, but actually wins in Texas, he to me becomes a front runner for 28. Like and I think he is potentially the best. I think that because Obama had a very similar ascension. He was a senator for 2 years, I think, before he because it's very akin,
or I think
but
2004
in the same realm of like here's it because right now, let's be honest, we look at the field of Democratic candidates, not awesome. Like so, 28 looks like nobody really stands out as like this could really galvanize everybody. He feels like a guy who could win the South. Feels like a guy who could win the swing states. Because he communicates better than anybody. So to me, I'm rooting for the 28.
Yeah, can I say something that's a little depressing just as a gay man?
Nathan.
Tallarico is Pete Buttigieg if Pete Buttigieg wasn't gay.
That's fair. That's a good comparison.
It's a good...
He's a little
and
better.
I love Pete Buttigieg.
Like I think that Pete Buttigieg is a little drier, I think. Like they're both dry, but I think Tallarico does an exceptional job at like connecting emotionally with people, whereas Buttigieg does a very good job of like explaining his perspective. But I don't feel like he connects with the person in front of him as well as Tallarico does because he's like that natural preacher.
Well, Tallarico's best advantage is in the state of Texas is that if you watch him when he does town halls or when he speaks to constituents, he's able to quote the Bible like the back of his hand.
Yeah, of course.
It's really, really hard to argue with somebody when they're basically using the foundational aspect of what you base your entire morality and politics on.
Right. No, it's very true. These are all assets that like I think the average liberal would be like, I don't love that this is what we're relying on, but at the same time, like he does.
I love both of them.
Yeah, they're great.
They're both great. That's the thing.
That'd be a great
both
ticket, actually.
great.
Tallarico Buttigieg, I'd be all about that. That'd be very cool. Even if it's flipped, it's Buttigieg and he's the VP. Like I just think the two, like they're so good at communicating, and they're what's missing from our side. Like there's so many people who are frontrunners who just aren't good at like connecting with people we haven't been able to connect to, and I think that they both are very capable.
Well, here's an interesting question for the group: is the best way to success through explaining, or is the best way through by displaying strength and confidence? Because what I would argue with a lot of the Donald Trump stuff, the words that are coming out of his mouth are nonsense. Right. This guy, he couldn't describe what the 3 branches of government do. No. He couldn't tell you what's in the big bullshit bill. But he stands up there and he never flinches and he sells it to his base. Is there a model? And that is where I would argue like Jasmine would be stronger.
Yeah.
She'd basically be like, well, fuck you. This is the way we're going to do it. And essentially like, I don't care what you think, we're doing it. And like, there is a thing I think where Americans really like strength.
Yeah.
They like to they want to feel protected. Now, Trump's version of strength does not jive with my version of strength, but I do think people see him as the guy who says it like it is. And if he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. So like, is it the explainer, which Turner gets to the Democrat, like is almost like in Hillary world, or, you know, somebody that
connecting to people though. She's like,
right. But she was an explainer, right? Like she had like her site had like a billion policy papers and everything.
I think what's sad, Tim, is reading between the lines. It's not so much strength. It's pandering to the fact that a larger majority of Americans than otherwise lack basic civics knowledge. And so it should the Democratic Party pander to people who may not actually fundamentally understand how a bill gets passed, that don't know what a continuing resolution versus an appropriation bill is?
Right.
Should we be pandering to that?
I also think
it's basically the question is, should we be lying? Should we actually just blatantly be lying?
That's like the MAGA, like I think that's the message that works for like MAGA folks and like Republicans in general. I think like
we're
Trump
gonna do it.
That strongman shit works for them, but I don't think we need to focus on flipping them. It's the people in the middle who are sort of like, I just want I just want to feel comfortable and I just want like to keep my fucking money. Like that's the group where I think like there is the opportunity to explain shit to them and they'll go, oh, all right, sweet. Like they're less influenced by the strongman bullshit.
Zach, to answer your question, you have to have the strong leadership traits. You can also have the explainer traits. Barack Obama was an explainer who also could get up there and say, you deserve healthcare and I'm going to make everything cheaper. And like, you know, this is not good enough. And like, you knew what he was trying to do. He was a good leader in that sense. We haven't always had that. You can't just be the explainer, or you get like Dukakis, Mondale type elections, where it's like, yeah, no, they're good leaders, but, or they're good policy writers, or you know, they know what needs to be done, but you have to be able to meet people where they're at. And if they're sort of detached from politics, that's when you just do the action movie thing and you say, you deserve lower prices. You deserve a thriving family. We're going to deliver on that. Fuck everything else. And they're like, fuck yeah. And they, you know, and then they like go to the bar or whatever, like they go do something else. For the explainers, the nerds, especially a lot of journalists, you know, who want that detail, and they're the ones that are like, well, how are you going to pay for it? You know, you need to have the place for that content, for that approach. But honestly, like Trump has he's proven me way more wrong, in that I used to think that was like, if you knew your shit inside and out and you knew what you wanted to do and you knew how you were going to do it and you explained it to people, then they would rise to that occasion. They would understand it and they would vote for you because you were a careful, cautious, you know, pragmatic person. I think maybe that used to be true, but like JFK into Reagan, we sort of transitioned to charismatic visual leaders, action movie stars. And the ratio of like, how smart are you and how well can you do things versus your just like bravado, has gone, like, it's basically 99-1 now, in favor of just those strong leadership traits, like the visual leadership traits like we see in movies.
Well, it's actually probably because of the invention of mass media, right? Because the first televised debate in U.S. history was in 1960 between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon was by far more experienced. He had I think probably, he was a garbage person, don't get me wrong, but like he was vice president.
He wanted universal health care.
He wanted, he created the EPA and everything, but like, but he partially lost the debate because he has a thick beard like some of us, and he had a 5 o'clock shadow, and the way the lights were set, it made him look sort of nefarious, and they said that had a big impact. So we've had communicators since then. But when I go back to that strength thing, there was an interesting study that Cato Institute put out yesterday about immigration, both legal and illegal. And they looked at it over 30 years, and they saw that both legal and illegal immigration helps reduce the deficit. And they have these charts, and they show how much the deficit was and how much immigration has helped to shrink it. So like
taxes.
What's that?
I just screamed in the background, they pay taxes.
They do.
Right. They pay taxes, and then they don't get the benefits, the most expensive services.
They get no Medicaid, they get no Social Security, they don't get anything, but they pay taxes through ITINs.
But I did a video on this last night at 8:30, so it was the right time to do it, and it got like nothing on either side. It just died. And then this morning, I did a video about the guy who went and attacked the girl at the high school who was protesting ICE. I don't know if you've seen this. This was in Texas as well. This MAGA guy comes out and literally starts attacking this girl, and then all the kids jump on him and beat the shit out of him. That video's killing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is where I come in, like, this is such an emotional decision for so many people that I do worry, like, if I'm like, oh, MAGA, look at this, like, graph, they're going to go, fuck off, liar, chill.
It's why I use visual aids, Tim, a lot. Because it's why, like, that video I made about the AI bubble bursting with all the cups of water, in case you didn't see it. Like if I just explain that without the water, nobody will pay attention to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's we are in a visual media. It's like, I have kind of, you know, I'm a big history YouTube nerd where like I spend copious amounts of hours watching YouTube videos just about, you know, specifically when the genocide was happening in the early stages, I was looking at the fall of the Ottoman Empire, like just for background and context. But like one of the big things that I, you know, have studied about American history is that, like, based off of media and visual identity, like there's no way in hell that America elects FDR as president if they know that he's in a wheelchair.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's like, it just doesn't happen in that time period because of this show of strength. There's like, the reason why it's going to be so hard for a woman to be president, and I firmly believe it will happen one day for us, is because there's just this fundamental rooted belief that women are not strong enough to be president. It's why, MAGA have constantly used stretching back to, and people don't remember this, but like Trump and this administration and MAGA has very, very acutely been able to realize that they can suppress women in so many different ways, stretching all the way back to 2016, when he told Megyn Kelly, who nobody likes, but like, except for a certain number of people, but he told Megyn Kelly after she moderated the debate that she might have been on her period while she was giving it, which is why she was so angry.
Yeah.
So you have basically, even people who would normally be your allies, you have this overall suppression of women. It's like, so that's why I think it will be so hard, for us to be able to move past this. And that's why this show of strength mentality is really important. On this note, like, I don't necessarily love the Gavin Newsom memes all the time because I don't know if it's showing strength, but I think it is an effective way right now to trying to fight fire with fire, I guess. Because if the president of the United States can go on Truth Social and post a like 1,800 character like post on, can somebody put limitations on Truth Social? My God,
I know
it's like in all caps, like
it's crazy,
and it's just full of like, I think one of them I read last week, I sat there and I'm like, there are 18 lies in this that do not actually exist. I actually counted them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so we're in this day and age where you position yourself as a strong candidate who is like making authoritative decisions, and people love his strength because, like, case in point, yesterday, he and Marco Rubio bypassed Congress, and they are sending another weapons package to Israel without congressional approval and without, any sort of like, we're going to go through the normal process of this. I'm not using that as like, I'm using that as an isolated example, but like, we can see all the executive orders he passes. So like, they love this. He has managed to convince his base to be excited about the fact that we no longer actually have three branches of government that are actually trying to keep it together. And that is, how do you fight that if you are a progressive candidate? How do you fight a scenario in this country where millions and millions of voters are excited about shitting on the Constitution every day?
It's crazy. I mean, you'd imagine going back 10 years and going, the Republicans are going to turn into the party that's actually anti-Constitution, when they were like all constitutionalists. It's fucking crazy. But that's what they are now. I mean, like, I see these Jubilee debates, and every single fucking MAGA shill that goes up there, all they're doing
Jubilee.
is going, well,
I cannot say
the Constitution sucks. Jubilee's trash, but I get those clips all the time on my feed, and they're all just ripping
What's
the Constitution
wrong with Christian
to shreds.
nationalism? Is Christian xenophobia?
I saw this Jubilee video where a guy was like, he sits down, he's like, tell me what's wrong with believing that I, as a white person, am better than you. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to, why? It's like watching like a murder happen live, and you're like, I can't look away.
Yes, it's true. I mean, that's the thing I hate too. Like, that has become the standard of what we get on our fucking feed, is just like a bunch of fringe people fighting each other. And like, we forget that the overwhelming majority of people don't want this. They just don't want it. And I feel like
it's just the loudest people.
Role. Yes. But like, that's what, to me, like, that's where I get thrown off of this strong man is going to win argument to a certain degree, because I think there's a lot of people in the middle desperate for something that is not happening right now. And I think if you can tap into that in some way, shape, or form, where it's like, hey, I'm just going to be like a civil person and understand where you're coming from, and here's some ideas. Like, I think that actually has a lot more strength than people think, but they get blinded because all they see in media is just fury and people wanting to get that and, inflamed, because that's what gets attention.
But here's the trick of that, right? Because I think you are right about the moderates, but if you do that, then the left that is like out for blood is not going to be excited.
Yeah, you got to
right?
balance it.
And then you've got to balance. So we have a much harder job because we tell the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think when Trump can go out and be like, gas is $1.99, and we had the greatest economy ever, and the surplus or the tariffs are like reducing the deficit, and like everything is awesome, and then we're like, well, actually, and then everybody goes,
right. We push our glasses up.
And it's hard. So that's why
27% reduction.
Right. Here's my chart, which is what I did in the video last night. Look at my chart that shows
Right.
I'm right. And
I
everyone
want to
goes,
know who at the White House has to make those charts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
God.
I really want to know, like who like when you sit there, are you actually asking in your head, this is so fun. I get to do an art project today where I just completely make shit up
manipulate
with the sheer
numbers.
purpose of trying to manipulate like 78 million Americans.
Right.
Well, there was one, I don't know if you saw this, and I'm going to probably screw it up, but there was one that there's like a slight growth in something, but they stretched the X and Y axis. So like the numbers
That looks like it's
from like
huge.
80 to 81% was like 80.1, 80.2. So like it makes it look like there's this
Mhm.
like
Of course.
huge increase, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's flat, but they've just stretched it. So like I want to hear that conversation. It's like,
Just zoom
yeah.
in. That's the
So,
whole
My
thing.
favorite is
John-
when he holds up a chart during a White House press briefing and you can't see it,
Right.
but like
All the
but he
answers are
says,
here.
"Look at this," and he
You're
just
like-
holds it up, and then he puts it away really quickly, and you'll
Yeah.
have reporters who are being like, "What was that?" And
That's
he'll
like
just
that
be like,
COVID interview
"You
he
should
did.
smile more."
Out-
It's like-
Right.
I can't even, while talking about Epstein victims.
Yeah, really.
A couple of, like, I don't know, it was like a month ago. I think it was when the last jobs report came out. Trump went on like a posting binge, 20 photos in a row or 20 images in a row. And I started looking at them, and they were from like the Presidential Economic Advisory Committee, some dumbass name, but it's a bunch of like just White House employees who put together reports for Trump. These things weren't published anywhere. And so because I was trying to find the images, and then I realized the images were kind of wobbly, and I could tell that he was taking pictures of like a pull down projector screen from within the White House or like within some room. And so then I realized like these weren't published, that same agency or that same group of economists, they were not publishing them on their own Twitter feed. These were slides created just to show Donald Trump how good he is. And he was
Right.
watching them on a projector screen in some room in the White House and taking pictures of them with a phone, or probably telling an assistant, take a picture of that screen and post it on my True Social
Mhm.
because this is fact. And everything was written. I looked at the language in these slides. Everything was written at like a 6th grade reading level. It was like very good and very bad and super
He's a
strong.
fucking moron.
And it was like, oh my God, like this is, it's not 3D chess, you guys. It's not 4D
No,
chess. It's a toddler with nuclear weapons.
I do want to say this though, just because, for your listeners, because you guys have a great audience. If
Yeah.
you, on the topic of the economy, on the topic of the economy,
We love you all. Don't
it's
listen to
We
like,
do.
That was that.
a lot of people are a lot of people, I think, who are maybe just below surface level, like people who are really engaged in politics. Like you're like one level down. If you want to go a little bit deeper on the economy, I encourage everybody to read the Mar-a-Lago Accords by Stephen Moran, who is the head of Trump's Economic Advisory Board. It's very boring, but it actually details out a lot of things. It details out tariffs. It details out why they are intentionally crashing the US dollar right now to be able to make our exports cheaper.
Mhm.
It details out if you read between the lines, it details out that the easiest solution to actually reducing our reliance on government subsidy programs is to actually reduce the number of Americans that we actually have to provide them to.
Yeah.
You can take that with whatever level of like disparity that you want to,
Right.
whether or not it's saying let people die if we kick them off healthcare, or whether it is saying get rid of millions and millions of undocumented immigrants, take it from there. But like really, really read that thing, just because it's all in there. Like everything that's happening, the tariff policy, like all of these things where, there is no intent for us to actually become a domestic manufacturing powerhouse
No.
again, like we were in the early 1900s. There is zero intent.
No.
The intent is to be able to compete directly with China, to be able to be a tech hub and invest heavily in AI and data centers.
Yep.
It's like, so like really, really read it if you want to. You're never going to be able to have that conversation with somebody who is red pilled so far that they don't really understand that we pay for the tariffs. But like you will actually walk away from it like with your eyes a little bit more open, and you will kind of stare at it and just say like, oh shit, at least I understand why he's doing this.
Right.
And not him,
Mhm.
why
he's not
people
doing
controlling
he's
him,
not
right?
doing it.
Yeah, he's
It's
too
like,
stupid.
like we can go through all the corruption aspects of what my Trump derangement syndrome is. My Trump derangement syndrome is basically like, cool. So Kevin Warsh, who is the new nominee for chairman of the Federal Reserve, is married to the billionaire daughter of the heir to the Estee Lauder Foundation, who happened to also be on take trips to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Like, that's just par for the course. Like, cool. What else is new? You know what I mean? It's the same thing where it's like, cool, like our ambassador to the UK, which is probably our most important relationship, you know what I mean, with the EU, is a billionaire donor who basically helped him build his ballroom. Like, normal. It's like, but like,
Put it on my tab.
the reason I'm saying this is you have to remove yourself from the daily like distraction of like horrible, awful stupidity and lunacy. And if you actually look and read between the lines, that is actually what almost sometimes does not make me be in a constant state of manic panic, just because you sit there and you're like, I get what's happening. I understand what they're trying to do. I understand like the intent. It's not good, but
at least there's something.
It grounds you.
Yes. It's not like, oh my God, this is the most unhinged shit I've ever seen in my life. Why is this happening? Like, it actually gives you a little bit of sense of like, all right, at least there's a plan. The plan is fucking terrible. But I mean, like, that's the thing I think for a lot of us, like, we all know too, it's not Trump himself making the fucking plan.
No,
it's the idiots around him, like Stephen Miller and shit, you know, being the architects of this stuff. But like, that's the dangerous part, is like the people that are actually building this are highly motivated to execute this plan. Like, Trump himself is sort of the interesting puppet they dangle in front of everybody and make it, you get
He's the host.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I call him basically, it's like, I don't call him the puppet. I call him, he is the host of the reality show.
Yes, you're right. That's a great way to
like,
look at it.
because I think he actually does understand what his purpose is.
He does.
His purpose is to distract. It's like, and to do all these things that get all of us up in arms, and then he'll just silently kill something. He'll just silently like close the Kennedy Center. You know what I mean? He'll just silently like shutter the Department of Education underneath everybody's eyes. Like, there are massive things happening that don't make big news because it is not really, really fucked up things like American citizens executing their constitutional rights, getting shot in the streets.
Right.
But there are massive things happening behind the scenes.
And that's why he runs away from those things, because like people were like, well, he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act and cancel elections after Minneapolis. He doesn't want a headline grabbing visual bloodbath in the United States, because that makes him look like a failed loser. It distracts, like it sucks all of the oxygen out of the room. The second all that stuff was happening, he was like posting about Iran and Venezuela. He just and posting about tariffs in the Supreme Court. Like, pay no attention to the really truly motivating domestic trauma, because that actually gets people to go and change their behavior. And so it's like, I don't know. I don't think this is not the fight he actually wants. He wants to make people look bad. He wants to win versus Governor Walz.
It's honestly why, Rich, like, on the topic of ICE, it's why a lot of Republicans will say the reason why you don't see any of this uproar in Florida and Texas is because local municipalities are actually assisting ICE. That's not why. You can't have this happen in red states, because if people are actually getting shot in red states, it will start to create community uproar. It's like, especially if they're executing their constitutional rights. So I am fully convinced at this point that ICE in blue states is given completely different instructions for how 100%. They are supposed to handle themselves rather than in red states. Because here's the deal. Like, again, Texas and Florida have the second and third highest number of undocumented immigrants registered in this country. Okay. And like, New York is number one. Actually, California is number one, I think. Right. One of the two of them is number one. But California. But like, there is a reason why ICE is not in New York City right now, which is where I live, in my opinion. And that's because you need people who physically look like Renee Good and look like Alex Preddy and look like people who are your Republicans' stereotypical viewpoint of what a liberal looks like. You don't need woman in polka dot dress leaving work, flipping off an ICE vehicle, like getting blasted around, because the idea that New Yorkers dressed in business wear are like getting in fights with ICE and potentially getting shot, that is horrible reality show for Trump.
Yep.
That's a spectacle that he doesn't
I mean,
want.
It's a spectacle he does not want.
They went to Maine.
Yeah.
Maine, where everyone knows that's where I'm from.
Yes.
And I could tell you, Maine is the whitest state in the country, 5%. I think there were maybe 4 or 5 people of color in my entire senior class. I mean, Portland has changed a lot since I was there. There's a lot of people moving from New York and Boston for, Portland's a great city, yada, yada, yada. But like, there are not that many undocumented people there. And mostly what I heard was that they were rounding up people who, like at one point they rounded up 100 people. 6 of them had a criminal record.
Right.
6.
Yeah.
And all the people in that areas, they're all going, what is happening here? Also, Maine is a state that is so old, there are not enough workers to do jobs.
Right.
So like, they're like, we talked to Dan Kleben, who runs Maine Beer Company and was running for Senate before Janet Mills jumped in. And he was like, I'm having to tell some of my staff to stay home, which means I can't produce as much, which means I can't sell as much, which, has the trickle down effect. Or people in Lewiston, where there is a Somali population very similar to Minneapolis. All of the Somali immigrants are staying at home instead of going to the markets, going to stores, going to work. It's killing the economy in Maine, but they're there because Janet Mills stood up to Donald Trump in the White House about the trans stuff. They went to court and she won. Yeah. So he wants to like shit all over her. He wanted to go after Tim Walz because he was a vice presidential candidate running against him a year and a half ago. It's very obvious, right? Like I mean,
the Minnesota thing that like, again, everybody who's listening, I apologize for hijacking this conversation, but this is something I'm very, very passionate about.
This is what I
hear
do.
From us enough.
The Minnesota thing, take a step back and look at the timeline of everything that's happened over the course of the past 4 months, okay? The Somali daycare story was something that happened in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. The person who was responsible for it was already prosecuted by the FBI and sentenced and charged. It is an old story. Okay. It was the pretext to be able to support what is happening in Minneapolis right now. 100%. Okay. And it is so disturbing that is the rationality, which is fabricate something, make it a big deal, get a base that has the media literacy of my left ass cheek. It's like to try and like process information because they won't Google shit. Like you could literally Google Somalia daycare controversy and it will tell you the timeline. It will tell you it's like that this is not something that this is something that's like 5 years old. Right. They won't care. It's like they will just still see. Now you have confirmation bias, which is people are stealing your tax dollars. That is the foundation. You have people are stealing your tax dollars. It's like that, even though if you even did more further research, you would see that a majority of that was state funded. It's like, but they're stealing your tax dollars. So then you open yourself up to illegal immigrants are the reason why your life fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you can just go on a barrage because they now believe that when they see U.S. citizens who are progressive, Democrat, liberals, whatever you want to call them, protesting, what they believe is the reason why their life financially sucks.
Right.
That is how you actually build a strong base in a coalition.
Yes. You need the danger layer. That's what I usually call it, because it's got to be something where like you are in trouble if you don't listen to this point. And that's how they always get them in there. And the other element of it too, though, that I think people don't look at, and especially people on the left because they aren't exposed to the information very much from, what are they getting their media diet? Like the border numbers was really the big justification for ICE in general, not now, but when Trump was running, it was like, look at the border, it's a mess. If you look at the border numbers, I mean, Trump accomplished his goal. The number of crossings is dramatic, like 95% lower than it's ever, in a very long time. I forget the number, but I read it recently. I was like, Jesus. In the end, that's how he keeps Republicans from giving the shit the way we do about what ICE is doing now, because it goes, look, the ends justify the means. I did what I said I was going to do. Nobody's coming here because they're too afraid to. So like, even in the end, it's not so much just about what's going on the ground. It's about Trump being able to justify and going, well, I got the result you voted for. And they go, yeah, I guess you did. And they look past it.
But they don't ever ask the follow-up question to that, which is, how did this help you?
Right. Well, that's, they're going to realize it didn't. That's the big thing.
But also, just so people are clear, the border crossing numbers at the end of Joe Biden's term were lower than they were at the end of Donald Trump's first term.
Yes.
So like there was already some of this happening.
Yeah.
But like you can't say that to them because they're just like, oh, that guy who like couldn't even like stay awake. And I'm like, wait, isn't your guy sleeping in cabinet meetings?
Yeah.
Like,
they don't care about it. It's the same as the inflation argument. Like, well, it was 9%. So it's like, yeah, but oh my God.
Right. But it was like double that in Europe, right? Like we actually
you can't.
You just can't go down
you
the
could
name
tell
road.
somebody like Japan's inflation rate was like 16.5.
There.
It's
Or
like
they're
they
like-
don't care.
Yeah, they don't.
It's
give
like
a shit.
you could tell people we recovered faster than any other modern
Doesn't
country
matter.
in the world in terms of being able to
Still
like
not good enough.
rear in. It's
Yep.
like they won't care.
Still
it's like
happened.
apparently Joe Biden was responsible for a global pandemic.
Yes, they look at it like he cheated on them, and then that's it forever. Like anything he does, like nope, you cheated though. It's like, but he didn't even do it. It's just so I can't.
Well, and also
stand it.
the things that he did that did have some inflationary effect, we needed to do
Yes,
because people couldn't eat.
yes,
They couldn't pay their rent.
We would have.
There was what were we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Nothing,
No,
which is what
everybody
the
did it.
Republicans always do. And then, like, I mean, you go look at the Depression. There, you could see like when Republicans were in charge and they wouldn't do things, it was bad. Democrats come in, push stuff in, and they're like, "Oh, let's back it off." Gets bad again. Like
Yeah.
it's, but like
And I think
you
I
can't
think
explain that to people.
No.
One of the saddest parts about all of this is I have at least 4 friends who are in New York and LA who are part of the gig economy. And the narrative of what the government should and should not do is so insane where my 4 friends, they have basically just decided they cannot pay the premium spikes on their healthcare coverage. I have 4 friends who are in their mid to late 30s who are currently walking around New York City and Los Angeles with no healthcare because it jumped from $600 to $1,200 to $1,500 a month for them.
Right.
And they have just accepted this. And I sit there and I wonder about Republican voters who are in this, who are like you cannot actually blame Obama for this.
No.
Like you physically have to stop doing this because like, and I think that is, if there is one thing that makes me want to run my face through a concrete wall on a weekly basis, it is simply this. And this is actually how I got my dad to finally leave MAGA. He's still a Republican, but I finally got him to leave MAGA because I basically said, how can you possibly support something as a fiscally conservative Republican where our government spending is out of control right now? How can you possibly support this? And we have removed certain aspects of the social protections that you actually benefit from. The minute that my dad found out that some of his medication was going to get more expensive, he lost his fucking mind.
Yep.
And that was my opening to go to explain to him exactly what was happening with the ACA subsidies, with the Medicaid subsidies, with the agreements where when he says that he reduced the price of medication by 90%, that was exclusively for Ozempic.
Right. Yes, it's true. And that's the thing. It's like I've been saying that all along is that nothing will change until the people who voted for him actually feel the detriment of voting for him. Like that's just you can make any argument you want. When people wake up and the day feels the same as it did before, it's not going to matter all that much. But when they wake up and go, holy shit, the budget of my house is not what I want it to be, and it's gotten worse, then you got something.
Or like the president saying last week on an interview that like his goal is to increase the price of housing.
Yes. Holy shit.
Well, no, he said,
How can you watch that and hear him say, I want housing, I want the value of your houses to go through the moon. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, does nobody hear this and hear to themselves? He wants it to be unaffordable to be able to afford a home.
Yes.
it's actually one of the dumbest things I've ever heard him say. It kind of got swept under because there's just too much shit. But
There's
the other
too
thing
much
he was
happening, and I'm sitting there. I'm like,
Right.
hello. It's
Well,
it's like we people we're simultaneously trying to convince people to take a 50-year mortgage.
Oh my god, I can't even start with
well,
that shit.
didn't he also say like, I want you guys to be rich? Basically, homeowners should be rich, but
Yes.
we're also going to create affordable housing. And it's like, you fucking idiot! Like,
Yeah.
how?
How?
Unless you're going to build them yourself.
And nobody talked about this because again,
Right.
we can't keep up. He gave $20 billion to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Mhm.
Like his solution for housing was to give money to the loan sharks.
Yep. That's the world he comes
It'll
from.
trickle down, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'll all
Where
trickle
will
down.
it trickle?
Yeah, nowhere.
Well, I think we have. We talked to Justin Wolfers about this on Tuesday. I think we have finally the myth of trickle down economics can be put in the grave.
Yeah.
Like we have tried it like 5 times since the 80s, and it never works.
Well, here's the thing, Tim. It works if you're a moron.
Right.
It's like
Well,
I almost
right.
like
If you're very wealthy
guys, you
or
guys. I have
corporate.
to be completely honest, and I apologize if I upset voters. I have become so close to just retaking the R word because I am so fed up with people calling me it. I get called that every single day. It's like in social media. I am so fed up that I've almost reclaimed it. Okay, but I will use moron. Okay, like the moronic aspect of that entire narrative, okay, again, is I forgot what my trail of thought was because I almost used the R word. What were we talking
We
about?
got you all
Tim?
worked up about the housing
know.
stuff.
Trickle down.
Oh, the trickle-down
economics.
Works politically.
The crazy thing about trickle economics is that like people are pointing to like what was the 3.4 or the 5.7 GDP, okay? And they're like, look how amazing we are. God bless you, Donald Trump. 5.7 GDP growth, best. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, did you read the rest of the fucking report? Because the fucking report says that this is driven by the amount of money we're spending on defense contracts. Yep. It's driven by increased healthcare costs, and it's driven by rich people buying shit and going on international trips.
Yes.
That is literally what the last report said. Does nobody read past the headline
So
anymore?
that's not
no.
you.
The answer is no.
If that's not you, then you're not in these numbers.
But they also have, right? They have a vast right-wing media ecosystem that is pumping them full of this bullshit 24/7, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Ben Shapiro, whether it's, any of these like people, and they're just like, that's great. And then the people are like, yeah, that's great.
And
that's
they're
great. It's
paid
like,
to do it.
Well, and some of them were paid by Russia.
Yeah, I'm
$400,000
just
a
saying
month.
this. It's like, if anybody wants to pay me to fight, like, please pay me. Like, I'm not above it.
Absolutely not. I'll say anything.
Same.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's all frustrating. But we're almost at time. But we got to end on a positive note.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is as I'm saying it out loud.
It's like, where are you
and I'm going to filibuster for a second.
I know for a second.
To give people something to think about.
I have a question for Nathan. I have a question for Nathan.
Okay.
Because he's our guest. And I don't know what you're going to say here. We've had this conversation. I think we all have our own opinions on this. But once, you painted a picture earlier of like, you got the Stephen Millers and the Stephen Bannons and all the non-Stephen Nazis all trying to create, use Trump like he's the host. Is there another host once Trump is gone? Or do all of these people fall back into the swamp?
That's a hard question.
I'm going to be...
No,
I think the scary thing is that the person who is probably positionally the most qualified to be able to fill that host seat got his neck shot out last year.
Yeah.
It's like, and I also weirdly, my most unpopular opinion, I think, in this space is I think there's a tiny aspect of JD where he's not like a red pill MAGA person and he's just doing it for like his own monetary gain.
Yeah.
Like I read Hillbilly Elegy. It's like, and so that's why I sat there and I'm just like, I don't understand what happened. It's like, and I think it's just, you want to become famous and you want to become known. It's like, but there's also a chance he could be worse because there's
Peter Thiel's money and selling out happened.
Yeah. The worst thing then, and completely incoherent, like dementia, like induced, is dying before our eyes, 80-something-year-old person is like a 43-year-old who actually can speak in coherent sentences. So that could actually be worse. I don't know. I am kind of ready for MAGA to burn their hats and move on from this. I don't think they have an heir apparent. I actually know from my family members who are MAGA, they're not really excited about JD Vance, to be completely honest with you.
He's a snake oil salesman. He's not he's just not.
Well, but so is
Trump's got a charm to him.
But
JD Vance has no charm.
It could easily be one of his kids. It really
That's
could
what I was going to
be.
say. Donald Trump Jr. or Tucker Carlson. Those are the only two where I'm like, I could see those two.
I swear to God, you guys, I have told this to my husband because he is a dual citizen of Canada and the US. I basically said, this is my nightmare scenario. My nightmare scenario is actually that Ivanka Trump becomes our first woman president. And I said, if that happens, we are moving to Canada because I actually cannot deal with the stupidity in this country.
I mean, if that were to happen, I might have to pick up and leave.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm already ready to go.
This was not the happy ending that I was asking for.
Happy
at all.
I mean, I heard no, there's no heir apparent.
No, you heard Ivanka Trump is going to be the next president.
He said that
is not
fear.
good news.
He didn't say that it was gonna happen. No,
so what was the optimism or the good news in that?
I think the optimism is that right now MAGA is not excited about who their options are for 2028. I think that there is a lot of optimism in that.
I think that's right.
Nailed it.
I don't think that they are. I don't think they're excited about voting in the midterms.
No,
like they're
not.
See that.
You can see that if you look at that Texas special election. Republicans are not enthusiastic about
like 8% turnout. in that election, right?
Yeah,
I think like 8%
it
of
was,
Republicans.
it was like 12 and a half,
12,
I think.
But it was a
like,
32-point swing.
Yeah, nuts.
Because
Trump,
half
but
of them
Trump
stayed
did an
home, yeah.
ad. Trump did it,
Uh-huh.
or
he
Social
endorsed
Crazy.
he endorsed her several times. She had a
Yeah,
weird
she-
like Whams
she
Whams
outspent,
bang
the
Whams
Democrats
bam
6-1.
Lambs.
Whams bams.
No, Wobsgam.
Not going to work here anymore.
That
It's like
special
Succession,
election,
right?
that's a good news. This is the good news to leave with. That special election in Texas, in my opinion, is actually way more indicative than any of the results in November. And that is because that is a heavy red district where people were not enthusiastic to vote.
He's giving them no reason.
One of the best chances that Democrats have in the midterms is the fact that that Republicans who are not loud on social media are hypothetically looking at what's happening in this country and saying, well, I didn't vote for this, but I'm not ready to say that to my neighbors and my friends.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
true.
there was the I think it was last week, the SNL skit about this.
Yeah.
Where the MAGA mom is sitting with her very liberal kids, and it's this whole thing where she's like, you know, after all this 10 years, I think that I think maybe Donald Trump doesn't tell the truth all the time. And then the kids go, "What the fuck, mom?" And they're like losing.
We've
She's
been
like,
saying
"I'll
this
go
for
back."
10
She's
years.
like, "You yell at me, I'm going back. I'm going right back."
Right.
And then she goes, it's possible that Donald Trump might not be the best businessman. And they're like, "Mom, like, are you kidding? Bankruptcy?" You know, it's this whole thing. It's sort of that.
Well,
but like,
who was that huge conservative like bro creator last week who didn't specify
about-
Trump, but he said it was all a lie. It's like he posted on social
Marjorie
media.
Taylor Greene
Marjorie
said
Taylor
that.
Greene just
No.
last week.
They're
There
all
was
dropping like
it was
flies.
there was
the guy-
a Ryan or a Mark, but there was a guy who was heavy on the Trump train for 8 years who came out and everybody knew what he was talking about. But he basically said, he's like, it was all a lie. It's like, and I think that, and everybody knew what he was saying. And then he doubled down and basically explained, and his way of explaining it was all government fails us. It was all a lie.
Yeah.
It's like, so like people are like, you know, Joe Rogan's changed his tune.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Andrew
It's
Schultz
like,
changes tune.
Oh,
you
Sean,
have all-
what's his face too, right?
yeah, you
Sean
have
Ryan.
all,
Oh, was
like,
he the one that said it was a lie? Sean
Ryan?
Ryan?
that is the positive right now, is that the worst fucking people in this country imaginable, which is what and I apologize to the three of you because I'm about to say this, but if you saw this in my video, I said the worst pandemic in this country is straight white men with a microphone in front of their face, but that was not directed towards you.
No,
It
it's okay,
was
it's fair.
directed towards the conservative owned media landscape, which is a bunch of dudes with microphones.
Right.
It's like, and they are all changing their tune.
Of course.
Okay,
Well,
so it's Sean Ryan, former Navy SEAL.
Yep.
Sean Ryan Show, vocal critic of I'm using the AI summary on Google, but yeah. So calling out the official narrative around the Epstein files. He's got a feud with Dan Crenshaw. Oh, Dan.
Well, but here's
Oh,
Dan.
to piggyback on on Nathan's comment, though, like MAGA only wins when they all vote, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that happened in 16. It didn't happen in 2020 because there was so much chaos, and there was also a surge of people who didn't vote. And then in 2024, all of MAGA voted, and then in 2025, most of MAGA didn't, and we swept all of those races. And he's not going to be on the ballot again. And and I think there are enough fissures on the edges that like they're not going to come out in the numbers that they need to. But that doesn't mean Democrats don't need to do the work, because Democrats
No,
have
they
a lot.
do.
They do. They need to do the work. But I mean, I have multiple friends of mine who are, you know, multiple time Trump voters, and they all are like, this is bad. Like, he's doing a bad job. I'm not happy with him at all. And they're not like MAGA. They're just like regular Republicans. Those regular Republicans hate what he's doing.
Yeah. And they have permission to just not do that.
Yeah.
Like they can just, if they want to, I want everyone to vote for Democrats, but if they choose to not vote for his agenda, especially in the midterms when it's like, okay.
I mean, we have a lot of those. So like if they can just, if Republicans,
Can they get some of that purity
it's
going?
like, I know.
No, I think it's true though. I think they're in trouble.
Big time.
So that's the good news. All right, we're
Yay.
gonna end it on that.
We found
Nathan
it.
Jun, thank you very much. We've all been friends for a while now, and I'm glad we could finally do this.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody listening follows you.
You know where to find me.
Yeah, you
Like,
guys all know.
I'm the
Sometimes
lone-
he's
I am-
on.
I am the lone gay Asian political commentator. It's like in this space, it is not hard to find me. I'm
Well,
not
you're
going to do the whole.
I've
Follow
seen
me
you on
here.
MS Now
That's
Yeah.
true.
and CNN too. Did you do
Yeah.
CNN?
No, I am not
MC.
on CNN, but I was on MS Now. It's like,
Okay.
and which was I had an out of body experience.
Yeah,
I could imagine.
But I didn't sound stupid, which is all I cared about.
He
I mean,
sounded good.
I didn't
Pick
see
the
the full
win.
thing, but I saw
Yeah.
the screenshots. You looked very composed and
Yeah.
very smart, and you were very confident. So I'm sure you did a good job. So everybody, you already follow him, so you don't need to go in.
Keep
But
following him.
anyways,
Keep following.
with that, thank you. I'm just going to do my real fast. Buy our merch. It's great. It's American made. I'm just doing it at the end, and go get a subscription on Substack.
Best ad
$6.
ever.
Maybe if I do it faster, we'll get more. I don't know. We'll
It's true.
see. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will be back on Tuesday.